Mrs. Reyes, step away from the microphone. Pam froze at the podium, one hand gripping the paper bracelet still wrapped around her wrist from the pediatric ICU upstairs. My son is 5, she said, voice shaking. He is on oxygen right now because his surgery was delayed again. The boardroom went silent. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for updates. Dr. Leonard Voss leaned toward his own microphone, his silver cufflinks flashing under the lights. This meeting is for patient appreciation, not accusations. Pam looked at the cameras recording the hospital's community transparency event. You invited me here. And now, Voss said, smiling without warmth, you are making people uncomfortable. Pam swallowed, then maybe they should be. That was when her microphone went dead. A ripple moved through the room. Pam tapped the mic once, twice, nothing. Behind the glass wall, 2 legal staff members started whispering fast. Pam raised her voice. My son's surgery was delayed 3 times because equipment wasn't available, but I work in records, and I saw budget transfers from pediatric care. Security, Dr. Voss said. 2 guards moved before Pam even finished the sentence. Wait, she said, backing from the podium. No, my son is upstairs. I just want to know why children are waiting while executives. A guard caught her arms. Gasps rose from the back rows. Board members stared down at their tablets like they had not heard her. Someone near the media table reached for the live stream controls, and the red recording light went dark. Pam twisted toward the audience. They knew the equipment was failing. Mrs. Reyes is distressed, Voss announced smoothly. She is also violating confidentiality rules. I'm his mother, Pam shouted as the guards pulled her from the room. You invited me here while my son was dying. They dragged her through the lobby past donors, nurses, and silent administrators. Her shoes slipped against the polished floor. Rain hammered the glass doors ahead. Outside, Pam stumbled beside her car, breathing hard, the boardroom lights glowing behind her like nothing had happened. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Again. She wiped her face and ignored it. The screen lit up, *17 missed calls. Then one voicemail played automatically. Ms. Reyes, a terrified voice whispered, You need to come back inside right now. Pam sat on the cold concrete steps of the parking garage stairwell, staring at the voicemail screen while her phone kept vibrating in her hand. Another unknown number. She declined it immediately. For 6 straight months, this hospital had become her entire life. She slept in plastic ICU chairs, ate from vending machines, learned which elevators moved fastest between the pediatric wing and the overnight family rooms. And every night, Eli asked the same thing before falling asleep. Will they fix my heart tomorrow? Pam always answered yes, even when she stopped believing it herself. Upstairs, Eli still thought the hospital staff were heroes. He called the nurses the superheroes upstairs because they brought him dinosaur stickers after blood tests. He trusted every promise they made, including the ones Dr. Voss made personally. Pam remembered the chairman kneeling beside Eli's bed 3 months earlier, reassuring him with practiced kindness. We're going to take care of you, buddy, he'd said. You're our top priority. 2 surgeries later, both cancelled for equipment availability. That promise sounded poisonous in her head. Her phone buzzed again. This time she opened one of the voicemails. Pam, listen carefully, a man whispered urgently. She recognized him as one of the hospital administrators from finance. The boardroom is falling apart right now. Reporters are calling. Legal is asking where you sent the files. Pam frowned. What files? You need to tell us who has access. The message ended. Pam's stomach tightened. She had never sent anything. Weeks earlier, while preparing routine departmental reports, she had noticed strange transfers buried deep in internal spreadsheets. Millions quietly moved away from pediatric cardiac equipment upgrades, while emergency pediatric cases kept rising. At first, she assumed it was accounting cleanup. Then a nurse warned her that morning in the ICU hallway. Don't mention internal numbers today, the nurse had said softly while adjusting Eli's IV. People upstairs are nervous. Pam finally understood why. Her breathing slowed suddenly. Cloud backup. Weeks ago, her work phone had run out of storage. She synced everything automatically without thinking. Audit files. Spreadsheets. Internal approvals. Every document she'd opened. Footsteps echoed inside the stairwell. Pam looked up sharply. 2 hospital legal staff members appeared at the landing above her in dark suits, scanning until they spotted her. One of them descended slowly, lowering his voice. Pam, he said carefully, if those records leaked. He glanced over his shoulder before finishing. Dr. Voss is finished. The elevator doors opened to chaos. Hospital staff rushed through the main corridor carrying folders, tablets, phones, everyone moving too fast, speaking too quietly. 2 security guards blocked the front entrance while reporters pressed cameras against the glass outside. Pam stepped out and immediately turned toward the pediatric wing. I'm going to my son. Mrs. Reyes, a nervous administrator, intercepted her. The board needs to speak with you first. My son comes first. They said it's urgent. Pam looked around. Employees who normally smiled at her now avoided eye contact completely. A pair of nurses stopped talking the second she walked by. Whispers followed her down the hallway. That's her. She leaked it. She was recording the meeting. Pam clenched her jaw and followed the administrator into a private conference room. Dr. Leonard Voss was already inside. Gone was the polished smile from the stage downstairs. His tie hung loose. Sweat darkened the collar of his shirt. 3 board members argued in low voices near the window while legal staff typed frantically on laptops. The second Pam entered, Voss pointed at her. You stole confidential hospital documents. Pam stared at him. You dragged me out of a board meeting while my son was upstairs crashing. You had no authorization to access those records. I work in records. You distributed internal financial audits. I didn't distribute anything. Voss stepped closer. Do you understand the damage you've caused? That was the moment Pam realized something terrifying. He wasn't angry. He was scared. Pam took 1 step toward him. Why was Eli's surgery delayed 3 times? No answer. She raised her voice. Why was pediatric equipment unavailable for months? One of the older board members suddenly snapped. Because funding was temporarily reassigned during expansion planning, he barked. The room went dead silent. Pam turned slowly toward him, reassigned. The man looked instantly regretful. We intended to restore the department budget after the merger closed. Pam felt her stomach drop. Children had been waiting for surgeries, while executives planned expansions. Stop talking, Voss hissed at the board member. Then shouting erupted outside the conference room. Everyone turned. A hospital employee rushed past the glass doors yelling, "Press got the audit screenshots." Phones across the room began buzzing at once. Board members grabbed them simultaneously. News alerts flashed across the screens. Executive bonuses approved during PEDIATRIC shortages. Internal records question hospital child safety. One woman at the table whispered, "How much leaked?" Another board member pointed directly at Voss. "You said this was contained." Pam suddenly understood. The dates she mentioned during her speech downstairs matched the audit timeline perfectly. That was why they cut her microphone. That was why they dragged her out. Hospital PR staff burst into the room. "Dr. Voss, reporters are asking for comment right now." "Get me out the back," Voss snapped. Before anyone could move, the conference room doors slammed open again. A pediatric nurse stood there breathless. "Pam," she said urgently, "Eli crashing again. Transfer got delayed." Pam bolted toward the hallway instantly. Behind her, Dr. Voss shouted, "If you speak publicly again, you'll destroy this hospital." ICU alarms screamed through the pediatric wing as Pam reached the glass doors. Doctors surrounded Eli's bed in a blur of movement. A respiratory therapist adjusted oxygen lines while monitors flashed unstable numbers across the screen. Pam pressed both hands against the glass. "Eli, A nurse gently blocked the doorway. They're stabilizing him right now. Pam watched one doctor call for additional support equipment. Equipment. The word hit differently now. Not an accident. Not a scheduling issue. Not bad luck. Behind her, elevators opened repeatedly as security rushed through the floor. Somewhere downstairs, reporters shouted questions loud enough to echo into the hallway. Then someone quietly said her name. Pam. She turned. A thin man wearing an IT badge stood near the vending machines, glancing nervously toward the security desk. I can't stay long, he whispered. Federal investigators contacted the hospital 15 minutes ago. Pam stared at him. What investigators? The compliance server flagged archived audit files. He lowered his voice further. Your cloud sync uploaded everything automatically weeks ago. Pam blinked. I never sent anything. I know. He handed her a tablet. On the screen were internal approval documents, time-stamped and digitally signed. Dr. Leonard Voss. Board authorization records. Budget freezes. Equipment replacement delays. Warning memos from pediatric surgeons. Pam's hands started shaking as she scrolled. One highlighted message stopped her cold. Critical failure risk accepted until Q4 merger review. Another included projected executive bonus estimates tied to budget reductions. Pam looked up slowly. They knew. The IT employee nodded once. They knew children were being put at risk, he said, including your son. The hallway noise intensified. Police officers entered through the ICU doors alongside men in federal jackets carrying evidence cases. Nurses stopped whispering and openly pointed investigators toward administrative offices. Everything was unraveling fast. Pam looked back at Eli through the glass. His postponed surgery had never been unavoidable. It had been policy. The board invited her to that meeting because they already suspected the audits could surface. If questions came later, they planned to paint her as emotional, unstable, reckless. A grieving mother nobody would believe. Suddenly Dr. Voss stormed into the ICU hallway with 2 security guards behind him. There she is, he snapped. Remove her from restricted areas immediately. Nobody moved. One of the senior nurses stepped directly between Pam and security. No. Voss looked stunned. Excuse me. The nurse's eyes hardened. That little boy almost died twice waiting for equipment approvals your office delayed. The hallway fell silent. For the first time all night, nobody obeyed Dr. Voss. An overhead announcement suddenly interrupted the tension. Attention staff. Effective immediately, all executive board meetings are cancelled pending investigation. Phones across the ICU began buzzing simultaneously. News alerts lit up every screen nearby. One nurse looked down at hers and whispered, "Oh my God." Pam grabbed the nearest phone. The headline filled the display. Hospital Board Chairman Leonard Voss has resigned effective immediately. Within hours, the hospital no longer looked like the untouchable institution Pam had trusted for years. Federal investigators sealed executive offices with evidence tape. Financial records were boxed and carried through crowded hallways, while reporters shouted questions from behind police barriers outside. The entire boardroom floor was locked down. And suddenly, everyone wanted to talk to Pam. The same administrators who ignored her, while security dragged her through the lobby, were now calling non-stop, trying to figure out how much she knew. Those 17 missed calls had not been threats. They had been panic. Executives believed Pam intentionally leaked the audit files during her speech. They thought she had planned everything. But the truth was even worse for them. The hospital's own compliance system had archived the documents automatically weeks earlier, after Pam synced her phone storage to the cloud. Once federal auditors began reviewing merger paperwork, the records surfaced on their own. Pam had never meant to expose the hospital. She had only asked why her son kept getting pushed aside. Now investigators were uncovering the full scheme. Millions meant for pediatric cardiac upgrades had been rerouted into executive performance targets, tied to a luxury expansion project. Internal emails showed board members discussing investor confidence, while doctors warned equipment failures could become fatal. One email mentioned delaying replacements until after merger stabilization. Another projected executive bonus increases if departmental costs stayed frozen through the quarter. Children had been waiting while profits were protected, including Eli's. Late that night, investigators escorted Dr. Leonard Voss through the main lobby as cameras flashed through the glass entrance. His suit jacket was gone, his expression looked hollow. Pam stood near the reception desk holding Eli's stuffed dinosaur when Voss stopped in front of her. "I protected this institution," he said quietly. Pam stared at him for several seconds. Then she asked the only question left. How many children were acceptable losses? Voss opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Agents guided him forward while staff members watched in complete silence. Some nurses were crying openly now. Years of ignored complaints, denied requests, and closed-door meetings were finally becoming public record. Parents in the waiting room recognized Pam from clips of the live stream before it was shut down. One father approached carefully. "My daughter's surgery got delayed too," he said. "Thank you for not staying quiet." By morning, the fallout spread everywhere. Multiple board members resigned. The hospital merger was suspended indefinitely. Families began filing lawsuits. State medical reviewers opened licensing investigations. Leaked executive emails flooded local news stations for days. And for the first time in months, pediatric emergency funding was approved immediately. No delays. No committee review. No excuses. Eli was taken into surgery 48 hours later. Pam sat beside his recovery bed for nearly 6 straight hours afterward, exhausted beyond words, listening to the steady rhythm of monitors that no longer sounded like countdowns. Finally, Eli's eyes opened slightly. His voice came out weak and scratchy. "Mom." Pam leaned forward instantly. "I'm here." Eli looked around the room slowly before whispering, "Are the bad people gone now?" Pam glanced through the hospital window. Reporters still crowded outside the building. Investigators moved through hallways carrying boxes of evidence. News screens replayed footage of the exact moment security grabbed her arm at the podium. The moment everything collapsed. Pam looked back at her son and nodded gently. They can't hide anymore. Months later, Pam walked out of the hospital beside Eli under clear daylight instead of ambulance lights. As they crossed the parking lot together, televisions inside the lobby replayed the boardroom footage one more time. The cut microphone, the guards approaching, Dr. Voss ordering her removed. The moment they dragged Pam out was the exact moment their entire empire started falling apart.